Biology, Unit 5, Animal Form and Function, Session 8. Right, today we are going to continue immunity lesson. So we have to start with inflammatory response. In the last session, you learned what is immunity, and you know that immunity responses can be divided into two types as innate immunity and acquired immunity. And we have discussed what is innate immunity. And in innate immunity also, there are two types of defenses, external defenses and internal defenses. Right? So today we have to discuss about inflammatory response, which comes under internal defenses in innate immunity. Okay? Harida? Right. Innate immunity, inflammatory response, right? Inflammatory response. Now, this is also an innate immunity defense response that present in the body to tissue damage, which is triggered by microbial infection or injury of the tissues. මොකක්ද කිව්වේ? මොකක් හරි microorganism කෙනෙක් නිසා එහෙම කෙනෙක් අපේ ඇඟට ඇතුල් වෙලා හරි microbial infection එකක් නිසා හරිද? ඒ කියන්නේ ආසාදනයක් ශුද්‍රජීවී ආසාදන කියලා අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපේ ටිෂුස් ඩැමේජ් වුණොත්, ඒ කියන්නේ තුවාලයක් වුණොත්. හරිද? එතකොට ඒ තුවාල හරහා එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ මයික්‍රෝබියල් ඉන්ෆෙක්ෂන්ස් හරහා අපේ ඇඟ ඇතුළට එක එක විස බීජ ඇවිල්ලා අපේ ඇඟට හානියක් කරන එක. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපේ ටිෂුස් වලට ඩැමේජ් කරන එක නවත්තන්න අපේ ඇඟෙන්ම ඇති වෙන මේ ඉම්යුන් රෙස්පොන්ස් එක තමයි අපි මේ ඉන්ෆ්ලමේටරි රෙස්පොන්ස් කියලා කියන්නේ. හරිද? දැන් බලන්න. Now in this figure, right, you can see a needle, right? ඉදි කට්ටක් හරි මොකක් හරි කට්ටක් හැම විදගෙන ඇතුළට ඇවිත් තියෙනවා. හරිද? කොළ පාටින් ඔයාලට පේනවා pathogens ලව. කියන්නේ ඒක වටේ ඉන්නවා බැක්ටීරියා, මයික්‍රෝබ්ස් මේ තුවාලේ හරහා normally you know if we take our skin, there are two layers, dermis and epidermis, right? Epidermis, you know, it is composed of several cell layers and cells are compact, right? There are no any spaces between the cells. හරිද? ස්කින් එකේ තියෙන මේ cells නිකන් අර බිත්තික ගඩොල් වගේ මැද හිඩස් නැහැ. එකකට එකක් හොඳට බයින්ඩ් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඇයි ඒ? ඒව අස්සෙන් නැත්තම් මයික්‍රෝ ඔර්ගනිසම්ස් එන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට මේ විදිහේ තුවාලයක් වුණාම මොකද වෙන්නේ? තුවාලේ හරහා මයික්‍රෝ ඔර්ගනිසම්ස්ලා එනවා. ඇවිල්ලා අපේ බොඩි එකේ ඒ කියන්නේ ඉන්ටර්නල් එන්වයරන්මන්ට් එකට ඇතුල් වෙලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට එක එක ඉන්ෆෙක්ෂන්ස් ලෙඩ හදන්න පුළුවන්. අන්න එහෙම එකක් නවත්තන්න තමයි මෙන්න මේ ඉන්ෆ්ලමේටරි රෙස්පොන්ස් කියන එක අපේ ඇඟේ ඇති වෙන්නේ. හරිද? අපි බලමු මොකද්ද මෙතනදි වෙන්නේ කියලා. Now here, right? හිතන්න දැන් ඉස්සෙල්ලාම ඉදි කට්ටක් හරි මොකක් හරි කට්ටක් ඇනුණා. හරි එතකොට එතනදි තුවාලයක් ඇති වුණා. හරිද? මොකද්ද මෙතනදි වෙන්නේ? ටිෂුස් වලට අපේ ටිෂුස් වලට ඩැමේජ් වෙනවා නේද? එතකොට ඩැමේජ් වෙච්ච බොඩි ටිෂුස් වලින් signaling molecules වගේක් secrete කරනවා. In this diagram you can see those signaling molecules, right? Upon infection or injury, various signaling molecules are secreted by those secreted by those damaged tissues. හරිද? හරි නේද? ඔයාලට තේරෙනව නේද මැද මේව වුණාට? දැන් මේ signaling molecules ඒගොල්ලෝ මොකද කරන්නේ? දැන් මේ අපේ තියෙන connective tissues, ඒ කියන්නේ mast cells වලින් තමයි මේ signaling molecules ඔක්කොම secrete කරන්නේ. හරිද? mast cells වලින්. ඊට පස්සේ මේ එතකොට ඒකට එක උදාහරණයක් තමයි histamine. Histamine is that kind of signaling molecule. මේ signaling molecules මොකද කරන්නේ? අර අපේ blood vessels වල තියෙන permeability එක වැඩි කරනවා. මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? They increase the permeability of the blood cells, right? Nearby blood cells. Okay? And also, this dilation of blood vessels also increases. හරිද? ඒ කියන්නේ මේ blood vessel එක ඒ කියන්නේ නිකන් මහත් වෙනවා. හරිද? ලොකු වෙනවා. එතකොට blood ගොඩක් ඒ හරහා යන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මේ තුවාලයක් ඇති වුණා ඊට පස්සේ signaling molecules release කරා mast cells වලින් මොනවද secrete කරේ? histamine. histamine හින්දා මොකක්ද උනේ? blood vessels වල permeability කියන එක වැඩි වුණා. ඊට අමතරව right it increases the dilation of the nearby blood vessels or blood capillaries. හරිද? දැන් මේ blood vessels වල permeability එක වැඩි වුණාම මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? මේ permeability එක වැඩි වුණාම මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒ හරහා macrophages ලට හරිද? macrophages ලට ගමන් කරන්න පුළුවන්. blood vessel එකේ permeability වැඩි වුණාම ඒ හරහා white ඒ කියන්නේ white blood cells නේ අපි කියන්නේ macrophages they comes under white blood cells. Right? And also antimicrobial proteins and clotting elements, they can enter into the injured area from the blood and they can aid in destruction of those invading pathogens and they can aid in tissue repair. හරිද? blood vessels වල එහෙම නැත්නම් blood capillaries වල permeability වැඩි වුණාම මොකද වෙන්නේ? white blood cells වලට එහෙම නැත්නම් antimicrobial proteins clotting factors වලට blood වල ඉඳන් අර injured වෙච්ච tissue area එකට ගිහිල්ලා අර ඉන්න invading pathogens ලව destroy කරන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? ආය අලුතින් tissue repair කියන එක ඒ process එක ඉක්මන් කරන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? And also, I told you this histamine, it causes dilation of blood vessels, right? Dilation of blood vessels, it allows more blood to flow through the damaged area, right? It helps to prevent the dead cells, okay? Oh, sorry. Right, I'll explain in English shortly. Right. Now here what happened is, now just imagine you got injured, right? Through that injured area, various pathogens can enter into our body, right? So there should be a mechanism in our body to control or to destroy those pathogens, right? So that is done by this inflammatory response, right? Once you get an injured, what happened, like your damage, your body tissues, they get damaged, right? And pathogens enter into the body. So mast cells that present in the connective tissues, nearby connective tissues, they secrete signaling molecule, that is histamine. So histamine causes increasing permeability of the blood vessels and also dilation of blood vessels, right? Increase the permeability of the nearby blood vessels. So when the permeability of the blood vessels increased, what happened? It enhanced the infiltration of white blood cells, antimicrobial proteins and clotting elements into the injured area from the blood, right? And aiding destruction of invading pathogens and aiding tissue repair. Then what is the use of dilation of blood vessels here? What is the action of dilation of blood vessels, right? So dilation of blood vessels, it allows more blood to flow through the damaged area so that that blood, right, it can carry those, it helps to remove dead cells, right? Now here here phagocytes means macrophages and neutrophils, right? So then they move from blood to the damaged tissue area and discharge signaling molecules, right? That is called cytokines. Cytokines also promote blood flow to the injured or infected site. Okay, so during this kind of inflammation, right, activated complement proteins that we have that I have explained in the previous session, activated complement proteins, they cause further histamine release, right, which attract more phagocytic cells to the injured tissues, right? Then those additional phagocytic cells, they also carry out phagocytosis, right? They increase the rate of that phagocytosis reactions, right? Then this process can digest microbes and cell debris at the in the site of injury. Then what are the signs and symptoms of this inflammation? Right? මොකද වෙන්නේ? නිකන් හිතන්න මොකක් හරි තුවාලයක් වුණා. Right? If you get injured, what are the signs and symptoms? නිකන් ලෙඩේ හොඳ වෙනවා වගේ න. දැන් බොඩි එකෙන් ඊට පස්සේ අපේ ඇඟේ මොනවද වෙන්නේ? ඊට පස්සේ රතු වෙනවා නේද? Redness. ඊට පස්සේ රත් වෙනවානේ. තුවාලයක් වුණාම නිකන් ඒක වටේ රත් වෙනවා. Okay? Swelling. ඉදිම වෙනවා. And pain. Right? Let's see what are the reasons for these signs and symptoms. Right? Dilation of, I told you, due to the histamine, due to the secretion or release of signaling molecule, histamine from mast cells, it causes dilation of blood vessels. So dilation of blood vessels causes redness. Right? රතු වෙන්නේ ඇයි? Blood vessels dilate වෙන හින්දා. Okay? Heat production, it is because of the high metabolism in that area. Okay? Then swelling, it happened due to the increased permeability of blood vessels. Okay? So when the permeability of the blood vessels increases, right, tissue fluid can leak into neighboring tissues. හරිද? blood vessels වලින් නම් ඔය ඒ කියන්නේ blood vessels වල permeability වැඩි වුණාම මොකද වෙන්නේ? tissue fluid එකට පුළුවන් අර ළඟ පාත ඉන්න tissues වලට ගිහින් ඒ තැන් tissue fluid එකට පුළුවන් ඒ හරහා ගිහින් ඒ කියන්නේ leak වෙනවා. tissue fluid due to the leaking of tissue fluid swelling happen. හරිද? Then what is the reason for the pain? ඇයි වේදනාවක් ඇති වෙන්නේ? Right? It results from the injury to the neurons. දැන් මේ අපේ තියෙනවනේ epidermis එකේ, even though there are no any blood vessels in the epidermis, it is provided with neurons. හරිද? තුවාලයක් වුණාම මොකද වෙන්නේ? These neurons also get damaged. Right? And also microbial toxins. Pathogens ලා මේ කියන්නේ microorganisms ලා අපේ ඇඟ ඇතුළට secrete කරන toxins. Because of the toxins secreted by these microorganisms, it causes pain. Okay? What are the 4 symptoms, signs and symptoms of inflammation? Redness, heat, swelling, and pain. This redness is due to what? Due to the dilation of blood vessels. Then heat is produced due to high metabolism that takes place in that injured area. Right? Swelling, right? Swelling is due to, histamine causes increasing permeability of blood vessels so that tissue fluid can leak into the neighboring tissues. It causes swelling. Then pain results from injury to neurons and microbial toxins. Then as a result of this inflammatory response, what happened? Pus, right? Pus, it get accumulated, right? What is pus? It is a fluid rich in dead phagocytes, dead pathogens, and cell debris from the damaged tissue. Okay? Also, increasing body temperature, right, within the limits, it enhances this phagocytosis and accelerate the tissue repair by speeding up the chemical reactions. හරිද? මේ inflammatory response කියන එක තේරුණාද? Any doubts? No doubts. Right. අර අපි සැරව කියන්නේ ඒව තමයි පුස් කියන්නේ, right? Right. Now look at the lesson note. Inflammatory response. This is an innate immune defense response in the body to tissue damage triggered by microbial infections or injury of the tissues. This involves the release of substances that promote increased permeability and dilation of blood vessels, enhance migration of phagocytes, and destruction of invading pathogens and aid in tissue repair. Inflammation attempts to destroy the microbes at the site of the injury, preventing the spread to the other tissues and promote tissue repair. Inflammatory response is brought about by various signaling molecules upon infection or injury. Histamine is one of the important inflammatory signaling molecule released mainly by mast cells in the connective tissues at the site of damage. Histamine causes increased permeability and dilation of nearby blood vessels or blood capillaries. Increased permeability of blood vessels enhance the infiltration of white blood cells, antimicrobial proteins, and clotting elements to enter the injured area from the blood that aid in destruction of invading pathogens and tissue repair. Dilation of blood vessels allows more blood to flow through the damaged area, which helps to remove dead cells. Activated phagocytes, macrophages, and neutrophils moved from the blood to the damaged tissue area can also discharge signaling molecules, cytokines, which also promote blood flow to the injured or infected site. During inflammation, activated complement proteins can cause further histamine release, which attracts more phagocyte cells to enter injured tissue and carry out additional phagocytosis. This process can digest the microbes and cell debris at the site of injury. Signs of symptoms of inflammation are redness, heat, swelling, and pain. Dilation of blood vessels causes redness and heat production due to high metabolism in the area. Increased permeability of blood vessels triggers localized swelling due to leaking of tissue fluid into neighboring tissues. Pain results from injury to neurons and microbial toxins. As a result of most inflammatory responses, pus may be accumulated. It is a fluid rich in dead phagocytes, dead pathogens, and cell debris from the damaged tissue. Minor injury or infection causes localized inflammatory response. If the injury or infection is severe, it may lead to a systemic response leading to fever. Elevated body temperature within limits may enhance the phagocytosis and accelerate tissue repair by speeding up the chemical reaction. හරිද ඔන්නෝක තමයි note එකේ තියෙන්නේ. ආයි පාරක් කියන්නම්. Right? මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? If we get injured or if we get a microbial infection, right? What happened? That injured area, right? The connective tissues that in the mast cells that present in the connective tissue of that injured area secrete signaling molecules, right? Histamine, they secrete histamine. So this histamine, it increases the permeability of blood vessels and dilate blood vessels. Increasing permeability of blood vessels, it enhances the infiltration of white blood cells, antimicrobial proteins, and clotting factors into the injured area from the blood, right? So it aids in destruction of invading pathogens and aiding tissue repair. Then dilation of blood vessels, right? It allows more blood to pass through that damaged area and it helps to remove dead cells, right? Then after that, activated phagocytes, macrophages and neutrophils, they move from the blood to the damaged tissue area and also they also can discharge signaling molecules such as cytokines. These cytokines, they promote blood flow to the injured or infected site. And also during this kind of inflammation, activated complement proteins, right? They increase the histamine release, right? Due to the increasement of histamine, they can attract more phagocytic cells to that injured area, and they can carry out additional phagocytosis. Okay. After that, signs and symptoms of inflammation: redness, heat, swelling, and pain. This redness is due to what? Due to the dilation of blood vessels. Due to the dilation of blood vessels. Then heat production due to the high metabolism in that damaged area, right? Then increase of permeability of blood vessels. Due to the increase of permeability of blood vessels, it results leaking of tissue fluid into the neighboring tissues. As a result, swelling, localized swelling happen, right? Then pain results from damaged, like injury to neurons and due to the microbial toxins. Okay, then as a result of this inflammatory response, what happened? Pus accumulate. Pus means in Sinhala it is called saliva, right? It is a fluid rich in dead phagocytes, dead pathogens and cell debris from the damaged tissues. Then elevated body temperature within the limits enhance the phagocytosis and accelerate the tissue repair by speeding up the chemical reaction. Okay, any doubts? Any doubts? Right. Now, you can answer 2009-21 A-level question. What is that? Yes. Discuss the innate immunity of human body against pathogen invasions. Right? You have 10 minutes to answer this question. Not 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Right? Copy down the question, write down the answer. You have to write it in normal in the exam. You have to write it in paragraph, right? Now in the class, you can write it down in the point form. It's okay. Quickly, you have 15 minutes. Write down the answer and send me a photo. You can upload it to the group quickly. Check your answer with the marking scheme. Right. Now look at the marking scheme. Innate defense mechanism are of two. Now you are getting marks for these points, right? මෙතන points mark කරලා තියෙන්නේ ඒ ටික. Innate defense mechanisms are of two types. External defenses, right? Instead of that, you can write external barriers like that. Then internal defenses. Second point. External defenses discourage entry of pathogens and foreign substances. Right now, this is the 2021 A-level paper marking scheme. Okay? හරිද? Skin or epidermis with closely packed keratinized cell layers serves as a physical barrier. Periodic shedding of epidermal cells remove microbes. Mucous membranes trap microbes. Secretions, tears, saliva are physical barriers as well as chemical barriers. Washing action dilute microorganisms and inhibit colonization. Lysozymes destroy cell walls of some bacteria. Gastric juice provide acidic environment. Then that acidic environment, it destroy bacteria. Then secretions of sweat glands or sebaceous glands provide acidity and prevent growth of bacteria. Internal defenses detect non-self cells or foreign substances by molecular recognition. Phagocytic cells, right? Natural killer cells detect and or bind with cells with abnormal surface molecules. and release chemicals to destroy them. Antimicrobial proteins attack microbes and impede their reproduction. Interferons, which are produced by virus-infected cells, stimulate uninfected cells to produce antiviral proteins that inhibit replication of viruses. Interferons activate macrophages. Complement proteins are activated by substances present on surface of microbes and carry out or leads to lysis of invaded cells of microbes and promote phagocytosis. Inflammatory response occur due to signaling molecules which increase histamine, which increase permeability and dilation of blood vessels, enhancing infiltration of white blood cells, antimicrobial proteins, right? And clotting factors, right? They have not included in this answer. As I told you, right? This enhanced infiltration of white blood cells, antimicrobial proteins, as well as clotting factors, right? Activated complement proteins increase histamine release. Activated phagocytes, right, promote blood flow to the infected or injured area, right? There are 40 points, right? They have given like marks are given for any 37 points, right? 37 into 4, 148 marks. If you have written more than 37, you will get 2 bonus marks, right? That's how they have totalized this essay to 150, to give 150, right? Hari neda? Okay, we'll start the new part. That is acquired immunity. දැන් අපි ඉගෙන ගත්තේ මුල් කොටස. ඒ තමයි innate immunity එක. Now we are going to start acquired immunity, right? Okay. Now, in innate immunity, you know, it is not specific to the pathogen, right? It's not specific. It do not have a separate immune response mechanism for the bacteria and for the virus, another one, right? There is no something like that. But if we take this acquired immunity, the major difference is, right? Acquired immunity is specific for the pathogen. හරිද? එයා serve කරන විදිය වෙනස්, right? Okay? හරිද? කවුද මේ? Shawind, right. Now, acquired immunity. And innate immunity, you know, it present in both vertebrates as well as invertebrates. But this acquired immunity, right? Acquired immune responses present only in vertebrates, right? Only in the vertebrates, found only in the vertebrates of the animal kingdom, right? So what is acquired immunity? It is the ability of the body to defend itself against invading foreign agents through specific defense responses, right? That immune responses are specific for the pathogen. For a bacteria, something. For the virus, another way, right? Specific. And it is mediated by diverse T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, right? Did I tell you anything about lymphocytes under innate immunity? No, right? Innate immunity, it is only phagocytic cells such as macrophages, neutrophils, then complement proteins, interferons, they are involved in innate immunity. But in acquired immunity, there are 2 new terms, T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes involved. Right? Now here, there are 3 features. Acquired immunity shows, first one, specificity for a particular foreign molecule. Right? That means it has specific defense responses. Okay? Pathogen අනුව එයාගේ response එක වෙනස් වෙනවා. එක එක අයට එක එක විදිහයි. අඳුනගෙන ඒ විදිහට සර්ව් කරන කෙනෙක් එයා. හරිද? Recognition of animals' own molecules from non-self molecules. හරිද? එයාට පුළුවන් එයාගේ ඇඟේ තියෙන body cells, right? අනිත් අර තියෙන non-self, ඒ කියන්නේ foreign molecules වලින් වෙන් කරලා අඳුන ගන්න. And also it has the memory for most previously encountered pathogens. හරිද? ඒ කියන්නේ කලින් එකක් හැදුනා නම්, ඒ ලෙඩේ හැදුනා නම්, ඒ පැතජන් කලින් අපේ ඇඟට ඇතුල් වෙලා ලෙඩේ හැදලා එයාට අපේ මොකක් හරි අපේ බොඩි එකේ ඉමුන් රෙස්පොන්ස් එකක් ඩිවෙලොප් වුණා නම්, right? දෙවෙනි පාරත් ඒ පැතජන් ඇවිල්ලා අපිට ලෙඩේ හැදුවොත් මෙයා දන්නවා මේ එන්නේ මෙයා, right? මෙයාට මම මෙහෙමයි රියැක්ට් කරන්න ඕනි කියලා දන්නවා. නේද? ඔයගොල්ලෝ යාළුවන්ටත් එහෙම නේද? එකම විදිහට නෙමෙයි නේද යාළුවන්ට සර්ව් කරන්නේ, right? එක එක විදිහට නේද? Acquired immunity also like that, right? So what are the features? Specificity for particular foreign molecule, right? Then it can recognize own self molecules from non-self molecules. Then it has the memory for the most previously, it has memory, right? Immunological memory. The next point you have to remember is this acquired immunity. It is found only in vertebrates, but innate immunity it found also in invertebrates also, right? Okay. Then, now T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. Those are the two types of cells that involve in, those are the cells that have the ability to carry out these acquired immune responses. Right? T lymphocytes and B lymphocyte. Both types of these lymphocytes, they originate from the stem cells. Right? Stem cells in the bone marrow. හරිද? bone marrow එකේ තියෙන stem cells වලින් තමයි මේවා originate වෙන්නේ. හරිද? Now, a part of lymphocytes, they migrate to the thymus for maturation. That part, ඒ කියන්නේ migrate වෙච්ච කට්ටියට අපි කියනවා මොකද්ද? T lymphocytes. එහෙම නැත්නම් T cells. Right? The lymphocytes that remain in the bone marrow are called B lymphocytes. Right? They develop into B lymphocytes. Now, where does these lymphocytes originate? They originate from the bone marrow, right? Originate from the stem cells in the bone marrow. Then a part of lymphocytes migrate to the thymus for maturation, and they are called T lymphocytes. Then another part, right? Another part remain in the bone marrow and they get developed and they get matured. They are called B lymphocytes or B cells. හරිද? Any doubts? No, right. Then, හරි නේද? ඊළඟට. Now I taught you about T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. Then in the plasma membrane, right, before these lymphocytes, they leave before they leave to the secondary lymphatic tissue, right, their plasma membrane acquire diverse specific protein receptors. Protein receptors කට්ටියක් ඇවිල්ලා නිකන් හිතන්න ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ plasma membrane එකේ නිකන් ඇවිල්ලා attach වෙනවා කියලා. Right? They come and attach to the plasma membrane. මෙහෙම කියන්නේ just to memorize, right? Okay? Some specific protein receptors. Specific. ඒ කියන්නේ එක ඒගොල්ලන්ට පුළුවන් එන pathogen අඳුන ගන්න. Specific protein receptors, they are called antigen receptors, right? So these plasma membrane of these lymphocytes, they acquire these diverse specific protein receptors or antigen receptors. These antigen receptors, they have the ability to recognize specific foreign invasions, right? Or specific foreign antigen. What are antigen? What are antigen? Antigen means a substance that has the ability to stimulate an immune response through these T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes and react with specific cells or antibodies and that result from the stimulated immune response. Antigen means substances who has the ability to stimulate immune responses through these T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. Okay, what are the examples? Viral proteins, bacterial toxins, then chemical components of bacterial structures such as flagella, right? Bacterial flagella, cell wall, right? They are antigens. ඒවා තමයි antigen, foreign antigens. Other than that, incompatible blood cells. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් blood transfusion එකක් වෙන කෙනෙක්ගෙන් ගත්තා කියමු. ඒ ගැලපෙන්නේ නැති blood sample එකක් හම්බ වෙනවා. Incompatible. Then transplanted tissues. කාගෙන් හරි අපි කියන්නේ අර organs transplant කරන්නේ අවයව බද්ධ කරනවා කියන්නේ transplanted tissues. Then polysaccharides also can act as antigen. Right, you know, after a tissue, after an organ transplantation, what they do, what the doctors, they give drugs, right? Like they give drugs to to deactivate or reduce the activity of our body immune system. මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? ඒගොල්ලෝ බෙහෙත් දෙනවා අපේ body immune system එක නිකන් deactivate කරන්න. නිකන් එයාගේ තියෙන සැර බාල කරන්න. නැත්තම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? අපේ ඇඟ අර transplanted organ එක මොකද වෙන්නේ? foreign එකක් විදියට අඳුනගෙන අපේ immune system එක යාව destroy කරන්න වැඩ කරනවා. right? එහෙම වුණොත් අර කරපු මහන්සියෙන් වැඩක් තියනවද? නැහැ. ඒක වතුරේ ගියා වගේ වෙනවා. හරිද? So what they do, they give drugs, right, to reduce the activity of our immune system. හරිද? ඒකයි අපි අර ඒ වගේ patient ලව ගොඩාක් අර clean කියන්නේ. ඇයි ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ immune system එක ගොඩක් weak. එතකොට ඒ විදිහට දැන් transplanted tissue එක නැතුව, organ එක නැතුව වෙන pathogen කෙනෙක් ආවොත් අනිවාර්යෙන් එයාට ලෙඩක් හදන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? එතනදී අපේ immune system එක weak කරන්නේ අරක ඒ විදිහට තිබ්බොත් අපේ immune system එක අර organ එක පිටින් දුන්නු organ එක පිට molecule එකක් කියලා හිතාගෙන, කියන්නේ foreign කෙනෙක් කියලා හිතාගෙන ආව destroy කරනවා. Right? So to prevent that, they give drugs to reduce the activity of the, or to reduce the power of our immune system. Right? Yes. So you learn what are antigen and examples for antigen. Right? So there are antigen receptors on the plasma membrane of the T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, right? There can be over 100,000 of antigen receptors on the surface of the T lymphocytes and B lymphocyte. Okay, antigen receptors, right? T lymphocyte ගේ B lymphocyte ගේ plasma membrane එකේ තියෙන මොනවද? Specific antigen receptors. එතකොට අර viral proteins ඒව මොනවද? ඒවා තමයි antigen. ඒ antigen ව අඳුන ගන්න පුළුවන් ඒවට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ receptor එක කියලා. හරිද? T lymphocyte, B lymphocyte ඉන්නේ අපේ ඇඟ ඇතුලේ. They have what? They have specific antigen receptors, right? Which has the ability to identify those antigens. Antigen means foreign pathogens, right? Non-self molecules. හරිද? Okay, right. Then, now antigen, they are very large, right? Foreign molecules like proteins. Protein කියන්නේ ලොකු ඒවානේ. හරිද? Shavinda, what about you? Now I am explaining acquired immunity part. Can you understand? Oh, he left. Fine. Now, normally antigen, right? They are large foreign molecules like proteins and polysaccharides. Okay. So normally not the entire antigen but small parts of the large antigen molecule act as the triggers for the acquired immune response. අර සම්පූර්ණ ලොකු තඩි antigen එක අර පිටින් එන foreign antigen එක නෙමෙයි, foreign pathogen නෙමෙයි ඇවිල්ලා අර අපේ specific antigen receptor එකට ගිහිලා bind වෙන්නේ. එයාගේ තියෙන චූටි කොටසක්. අරගොල්ලෝ එන තඩි ලොකුයි, right? හරිද? So that small accessible portion of the antigen, right, which can binds to the specific antigen receptor on the T lymphocyte or B lymphocyte is called epitope. අන්නේ විදිහට ගිහිල්ලා antigen specific antigen receptor එකට bind වෙලා T lymphocytes B lymphocytes ඒවා activate කරලා acquired immune response එකක් ඇති කරන ඒ antigen එකේ චූටි කෑලි වලට parts වලට right ඒවට අපි කියනවා මොකද්ද epitope කියලා. Right, so these are the B cells and T cells. Now here you can see this red color part on the T cell, that is its specific antigen receptor. And this tree-like structure, this branch-like structure is the antigenic receptor, specific antigen receptor of the B cell. Okay. Here you can see this pathogen. Pathogen is the antigen. This is the B lymphocyte. On the plasma membrane of the B lymphocyte, you can see specific antigen receptors, right? They have a specific shape. Okay. On the pathogen is the antigen. හරිද? එයාගේ මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? there's a this small part, this small accessible portion, it is called epitope, right? Epitope bind with this antigenic receptor and they can activate that immune response through B lymphocytes and T lymphocyte. Can you understand the difference between antigens, antigen receptors, epitopes? Huh? Can you understand? තේරෙනවද? Okay. Any doubts? Shavinda, what about you? Can you understand? Right. Right. Then, in acquired immunity, there are two types of immune responses, right, which are mediated by T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. First one is cell-mediated immune response. හරිද? Second one is humoral immune response. Humoral immune response and cell-mediated. Cell-mediated කියන්නේ cells. ඒවා තමයි මැදිහත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Humoral කියන්නේ නිකන් body fluids මැදිහත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ එතන. එතන immune response එකට. Right? බලමු. Before that, we have to go through the lesson note. Acquired immunity. What is the definition? Acquired immunity is the ability of the body to defend itself against invading foreign agents through specific defense responses mediated by diverse T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. Acquired immunity shows, number one, specificity for particular foreign molecules. Number two, recognition of animals' own molecules, right? Self molecules from non-self molecules. So, වහන්න පුළුවන්, right? දැන් මෙතන තියෙන්නේ ප්‍රශ්න ගොඩක්. බලන්න exam එක ගන්නම what is acquired immunity, right? What are these features? These three things. Okay? Then third one, memory for most previously encountered pathogens such that the subsequent encounter causes a stronger and more rapid response. So immunological memory. In the animal kingdom, acquired immunity is found only in the vertebrates. Okay? Then, the cells that have developed the ability to carry out acquired immune responses, if they are activated against foreign agents, are called T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. In man, both types of lymphocytes are originated from stem cells in the bone marrow. Some of the lymphocytes that migrate to thymus for maturation are called T lymphocytes or T cells. The lymphocytes that remain in the bone marrow for completion of development are called B lymphocytes or B cells. Before leaving these lymphocytes to the secondary lymphatic tissues, their plasma membranes acquire diverse specific protein receptors. They are called specific antigen receptors, which have the ability to recognize specific foreign invasions. There can be over 100,000 antigen receptors on the surface of a single B lymphocyte or T lymphocyte. Then, an antigen. Antigen is a substance that has the ability to stimulate an immune response through T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes and to react with specific cells or antibodies that resulted from the stimulated immune response. Viral proteins, bacterial toxins, and chemical components of bacterial structures such as flagella and cell walls can be antigenic. Structural components of incompatible blood cells, transplanted tissues can also be antigenic. Antigens are usually large foreign molecules such as proteins and polysaccharides. In general, not the entire antigen, but certain parts of a large antigen molecule act as the triggers for the acquired immune responses. The small accessible portion of the antigen that binds to a specific antigen receptor of a T lymphocyte or B lymphocyte is called an epitope. For example, a group of aminocytes in a large protein can serve as an epitope. Usually, a single antigen has several epitopes. Each can bind with a specific antigenic receptor of the single T or B lymphocytes. Right. In acquired immunity, two types of immune responses are mediated by T lymphocyte and B lymphocyte. They are cell-mediated immune responses and humoral immune responses. Humoral immune response is called antibody-mediated immune response. Both immune responses are triggered by antigen. A given pathogen provokes both types of immune responses. Okay. First one, cell-mediated immune response. Right? Now here cell-mediated නම් එතන තියෙන්නේ T cells. දැන් අපි කිව්වා there are two types of lymphocytes, T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. Now in the cell-mediated immune response, right? T lymphocytes are involved here. හරිද? කවුද මේකේ lead එක අරගෙන යන්නේ? T lymphocyte. හරිද? මෙතන what happen is this cell-mediated immune response, right? It is a type of acquired immunity where specifically synthesized T lymphocyte attached to the antigen, right, undergo proliferation and it eventually differentiates into cytotoxic T cells that can directly kill the cells with the invading antigen. මොකක්ද කිව්වේ? දැන් මොකක්ද මෙතනදි වෙන්නේ? මෙතන T lymphocyte එක තමයි involve වෙන්නේ. B lymphocyte එක නෙමෙයි. හරිද? එතකොට මෙයා ගිහිල්ලා මොකද කරන්නේ? antigen එක දැන් antigen මෙයාගේ තියෙනවානේ antigen receptors. එයාගේ antigen receptors කියලා antigen එකේ epitope part එකකට join වෙලා, right? It undergoes proliferation, right? Attached to the antigen and it undergoes proliferation and eventually differentiate into the cytotoxic T cell. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක තමයි effective form එක. හරිද? cytotoxic T cell කියන එක නේද? ඒ කියන්නේ එයා bind වෙනවා ගිහිල්ලා antigen එකත් එක්ක. හරිද? bind වෙලා එයා convert වෙනවා කාටද? cytotoxic T cell එකට. එයා තමයි active form එක, effective form එක. Right? That cytotoxic T cell can directly kill the cell with invading antigen. දැන් මොකක් හරි අපේ body cell එකකට හිතන්න cancer මොකක් හරි cancer cell එකක් අපේ ඇඟ ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා කියලා. Right? මොකද කරන්නේ? T lymphocyte එක ගියා. ඒකේ තියෙන antigen එකකට එයාගේ antigen receptors ගිහිලා bind වෙනවා. Right? And they undergo proliferation and convert into cytotoxic T cell. And that cytotoxic T cell it can directly kill that cell with the invading pathogen. හරිද? ඇන්ටිජන් ඉන්න ඒ ඇන්ටිජන් ඉන්න ඒ සෙල් එක මරලා දානවා. කෙලින්ම ඒ කියන්නේ ඩිරෙක්ට්ලි ඍජුවම මරලා දානවා. හරිද? This is a very strong and more rapid response, right? It gives a rapid response. දැන් ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ ඇන්ටිජන්ම ආපහු අපේ ඇඟ ඇතුළට ආවොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? මෙයා හරි ඉක්මනට ආවා නේද? කලින් එක්කෙනා නේද කියලා හරි ඉක්මනට මේ හරි ඉක්මනට ඒකට immune response එකක් දෙනවා, right? Very strong. This causes strong and more rapid responses on subsequent encounter of the same antigen to the body, right? So this is effective against infected cells like fungi, parasites, viruses that present within the host cell, and cancer cells and foreign transplanted cell. Always what happened here is, right, this involves cells attacking cells, right? Cells attacking cells. Cytotoxic cells වලින් cells වලටම attack කරනවා. Cytotoxic T cell වලින් ගිහිල්ලා අර ඒ කියන්නේ invaded pathogen ඉන්න cell එකටම ගිහිල්ලා attack කරනවා. බලමු අපි. Cell-mediated immune response. Cell-mediated immune response is a type of acquired immunity in which specifically synthesized T lymphocytes attached to the antigen undergo proliferation and eventually differentiate into cytotoxic T cells that can directly kill the cells with the invading antigen. In addition, memory T cells are formed that can cause stronger and more rapid response at the subsequent encounter of the same antigen to the body. This is particularly effective against infected cells, such as fungi, parasites, and viruses that are present within the host cell, some cancer cells, and foreign transplanted cells. Cell-mediated immunity always involves cells attacking cells. Right. Next one. Humoral. Second one is the humoral. මෙතනදී මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? B lymphocytes. Right? මෙතන වැඩ කරන්නේ කවුද? B lymphocytes. Humoral immune response is a type of acquired immunity in which specifically synthesized B lymphocytes, right? Specifically synthesized B lymphocytes attached to a particular antigen undergo proliferation and differentiate into what? Is it differentiate into cytotoxic T cells? No, it differentiate into plasma cells. අතන වගේම අතන මොකද උනේ T lymphocyte එක ගියා ගිහිලා antigen ට bind වුණා and they undergo proliferation and differentiate into cytotoxic T cells, right? And they directly kill the cells with the invading pathogen. Here, B lymphocyte attached to the particular antigen and undergo proliferation and differentiate into plasma cells, and they secrete circulating antibodies that can neutralize and inactivate the specific toxins and pathogens in the blood and lymph. Then අතනදී, right, look at the difference. In the previous case, T cells, they differentiate into cytotoxic T cells and they directly kill the cell with the invading pathogen. Here, this instead of that direct attacking plasma cells, they secrete antibodies. ඒගොල්ලෝ මොකද කරන්නේ? ඒගොල්ලෝ antibodies secrete කරනවා. ඒ antibodies මොකද කරන්නේ? They go and neutralize or inactivate the specific toxins or pathogens that present in the blood or lymph, right? They also produce memory B cells, right? These memory B cells, they can cause strong and very rapid response at a subsequent encounter of the same antigen. Okay, so humoral immune response works mainly against antigen present in body fluids and extracellular pathogens that multiply in the body fluid. දැන් අතන කෙලින්ම body cells එක්කනේ attack කරේ. මෙතන මොකක්ද? අර body fluids වල ඉන්න pathogens ලව තමයි attack කරන්නේ. නැතුව cells වල ඉන්න කට්ටිය නෙමෙයි. Right? here they can't directly attack the cell. What they are doing is they secrete antibodies, right, which can neutralize or inactivate the toxins or pathogens that present in blood and lymph. They do not directly attack the cells with invading pathogen. That is the difference. Can you understand? Harida? Okay, write down a question. Write down some questions. Number one. What is acquired immunity? What is acquired immunity? Question number two. What are the features of acquired immunity? Three features, three basic features or characteristics of acquired immunity. Next one. What are T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes? Third question. What are T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes? Please write down the questions right clearly because I don't have any note. දැන් හදලා තමයි මේ හැම එකම දෙන්නේ. Okay, Shona? So write down the questions clearly and can you please upload it to the group? It will be helpful for the others. Fourth one. What are antigens? What are antigens? No, define the term antigen. Define the term antigen. Give examples. Give examples. Sixth question. What is an epitope? What is an epitope? Next question. What are the two types of immune responses? What are the two types of immune responses? Okay. Briefly explain them. Briefly explain them. Right. Do it now quickly. Take a photo and upload those questions to the group. I don't have those questions with me. Quickly, you have, we'll start the discussion at 5:40. Quickly. Okay, let's discuss the question. First question, what is acquired immunity? Right, acquired immunity means the ability of the body to defend itself against invading foreign agents through specific defense responses mediated by diverse T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. Right? Your answer should include all these words. Right? මේ ඔක්කොම තියෙන්න ඕනි. Right? Then, second question. What are the features of acquired immunity or the three characteristics? First one, acquired immunity shows specificity for particular foreign molecules. Then it can recognize self molecules from non-self molecules. Third one, it provides immunological memory. Right? Next one, third question. What are T and B lymphocytes? T and B lymphocytes are the cells that have developed the ability to carry out acquired immune responses if they are activated against foreign agents. Right? These T and B lymphocytes, they originate from the stem cells in the bone marrow. Right? The lymphocytes that migrate to thymus for maturation are called T cells or T lymphocytes, and the lymphocytes that remaining in the bone marrow, right, for completion of development are called B lymphocytes. Next question, define the term antigen. Antigen means a substance that has the ability to stimulate an immune response through T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes and to react with specific cells or antibodies that resulted from the stimulated immune response. Next question, what is an epitope? Epitope means the small accessible portion of the antigen that binds to a specific antigen receptor of a T lymphocyte or B lymphocyte. Right? Next question, what are the two types of immune responses and briefly explain. So the two types of immune responses are cell-mediated immune response and humoral immune response. Right? So please send your answers, right, through the WhatsApp, or you can upload it to the group. Then I can check your answers. I mean, for that, for the briefly explained part, right, you have to send me the answers. Right. Now let's start the next part. Antibodies. Okay. Right. Now here you can see the antibody and the antigen. These antibodies, they are secreted by T lymphocytes or B lymphocytes. These are secreted by the B lymphocytes, differentiated B lymphocytes, right? Not just B lymphocytes, differentiated. Differentiated plasma cells, right? B lymphocytes, they undergo cell division or proliferation and they differentiate and produce plasma cells. These plasma cells produce these antibodies. Antibodies are proteins. They were proteins. So these antibodies, they can bind with the antigen. Now here in this figure, you can see, right? Antigen ekat ekka bind වෙනවා. Right? So they after binding with the antigen, they can't directly kill those invaded cell. What they are doing is they neutralize or inactivate the specific toxins and pathogens in the body fluids. Body fluids means blood or lymph. හරිද? lymph වල හරි blood වල හරි තියෙන මේ invaded pathogens එහෙම නැත්නම් antigen specific toxins තියෙනවනේ. They can neutralize them or they can inactivate the specific toxins. Right? They cannot directly go and kill the pathogen. What they are doing is they interfere with the activity of the pathogen, or they mark the pathogen for inactivation and destruction. ඒගොල්ලෝ නිකන් mark කරනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒගොල්ලෝ අර ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ antigen ගේ සැර බාල කරනවා. හරිද? These antibodies, they also called immunoglobulins. මොනවද කියන්නේ? Immunoglobulins කියනවා. Right? Immunoglobulins, they have this Y shape. Now here you can see this antibody, it has Y shape, right? Y-shaped structure, right? These are secreted, right? They are not bound to the plasma membrane of the B lymphocyte. They are secreted to the body fluid. Can a blood එහෙම නැත්නම් lymph වලට secrete කළා දානවා. They are not membrane bounded, right? Okay, so that is about the antibodies. Antibodies are proteins, right? Look at the lesson note. Antibodies are proteins secreted by plasma cells or differentiated B lymphocytes in response to specific antigens. The antibody binds with that antigen to neutralize, inhibit, or destroy it. Antibodies can neutralize and inactivate the specific toxins and pathogens in the body fluids. The antibodies do not directly kill the pathogens but can interfere with the activity of the pathogen or mark the pathogen for inactivation and destruction. Antibody antigen complexes can activate complement system. Complement proteins එහෙම අපි ඉගෙන ගත්ත innate immunity වල තියෙන, right? And phagocytosis to destroy the pathogen. Antibodies are also called immunoglobulins. Immunoglobulin has the same Y-shaped structure as B lymphocyte antigen receptors but are secreted than membrane bound. Okay? Harida? Any doubts? Right. Next one. Role of T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes in acquired immunity. Role එක. මේක හරියට අහගන්න. මේක මම පාඩම් කරද්දී it was little bit difficult to understand. Right? නිකන් අකුරුත් ගොඩයි තනියෙන් පාඩම් කරන්න ගියාමත් එපා වෙනවා. අපි බලමු මේක we'll take sentence by sentence. For an acquired, now here first, right? Now we are going to learn how this happened. We are going to learn about this process. The T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, and we learn the function, what's happening here. Now we are going to learn step by step what is happening here, how they go and attack this antigen. What is this immunological memory? එහෙම එකක් අපි ඉගෙන ගත්තා. ඒකක් එහෙම හැදෙන්නේ කොහොමද? කොයි වෙලේද හැදෙන්නේ කියන ඒවා තමයි දැන් මේ ඉගෙන ගන්න යන්නේ. රෝල් එක. Right? First one, recognition of the antigen, binding to the antigen and sensitization. For an acquired immune response to occur, some T lymphocytes or B lymphocytes must first recognize, that a foreign antigen is present in the body. Right? It's so simple. Right? Before any acquired immune response or before any immune response, they should be able to identify there is a foreigner in our body, right? පිටස්තරයක් අපේ ඇඟ ඇතුලේ ඉන්නවා කියලා they should be able to identify that. Even though there are vast variety of antigen receptors present on different B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes, only a very small fraction are specific for a particular epitope. Now, I taught you, right? Now, if we take the plasma membrane of a B lymphocyte or T lymphocyte, on their plasma membrane, they have 100,000 of antigen receptors, right? Specific antigen receptors, right? They are specific for different types of antigens. හරිද? එතකොට කවුරු හරි එක එපිටෝප් එකක් ආවොත් ඒකට ස්පෙસિෆික් වෙන කිහිපයක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. අරකේ තියෙන එක එක જાති ඒවා තියෙනවා. අර එන එක්කෙනාට ස්පෙસિෆික් වෙන කිහිපයක් අර 100,000 රිසෙප්ටර්ලා තිබ්බත් කිහිප දෙනෙක් තමයි ඒකට මැච් වෙන්නේ. තේරුණාද? Hence, antigen should be presented to the B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte until a match is made. හරිද? Recognition of the antigen occurs through successful match between an epitope of the antigen and an antigen receptor on small number of B lymphocytes or T lymphocyte. දැන් ඕක පටන් ගන්න කොයි වෙලේද? හරියටම ගිහිල්ලා ගැලපෙන epitope එකක් ගිහින් B lymphocyte ගේ එහෙම නැත්නම් T lymphocyte ගේ antigen receptor එකට ගිහිල්ලා bind වුණාම තමයි මෙයා දැනගන්නේ පිටස්තරයක ඉන්නවා විනාශ කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා. Right? As specific antigen receptors produced by single T cells. Give me a second. Where did I stop? Hence, both T and B cells can respond to any pathogen that produce molecules containing the same epitope. Can you hear me now? Clear? Is it clear? Can you hear me clearly? Right. But B cells and T cells encounter antigens in different ways. දැන් මෙතන මේ කියනවා මේ එක ඇන්ටිජන් කෙනෙක්ට ගිහින් B cell ගේ එහෙම නැත්නම් T ගේ දෙන්නගෙන් එක ඕන කෙනෙක්ට ගිහිල්ලා බයින්ඩ් වෙන්න පුළුවන් epitope එකට. හැබැයි මේක දෙන්න සර්ව් කරන විදිහ හරිද සංග්‍රහ කරන විදිහ වෙනස්. Right? But B cells and T cells encounter antigens in different ways. දැන් අපි කලින් ඉගෙන ගත්තා. T cells they can directly kill the invaded cell. But B cells, what are they doing? They secrete antibodies. Antibodies they neutralize or what they do? They neutralize so they can't directly kill the pathogen like T cells, right? They can interfere with the activity of the pathogen or they can mark the pathogen for inactivation and destruction, right? So their actions are different. T lymphocytes only recognize the fragments of antigenic proteins that are presented to the cells by special cells called antigen-presenting cells. What are the antigen-presenting cells? Macrophages, dendritic cells, B cells. කියන්නේ plasma cells. ඒවෙන් ගෙනත් දෙන කට්ටිය තමයි මේ T cells ලා මේ antigens කියලා හඳුනගෙන විනාශ කරන්නේ. ගිහින් directly kill කරන්නේ. මරලා දාන්නේ, විනාශ කරලා දාන්නේ. However, B lymphocytes can recognize and bind to the antigens present in blood plasma, lymph and interstitial fluid. B lymphocytes මොකද කරන්නේ? ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉන්නේ body fluids. Body fluids එක තමයි තියෙන්නේ හැමතිස්සෙම. Right? The binding of an antigen to the specific antigen receptor results in sensitization of a specific T lymphocyte or B lymphocyte which initiate cell-mediated and antibody-mediated. Antibody-mediated කියන්නේ humoral immune response described below. Second step, proliferation then differentiated into effector cells. ඔන්න දැන් bind වුණා. හරිද? T and B අඳුනගත්තා as antigen, right? So we have to do something to destroy them. So T and B lymphocyte, they bind to those antigen parts or epitopes. Once activated T lymphocyte or B lymphocyte undergoes multiple cell division, that means proliferation, resulting a clone, a population of cells that are identical to the original lymphocyte. Some cells of clones become effector cells, which are short-lived cells that effect immediately against the antigen to provide primary immune responses. මොකද කරන්නේ මේගොල්ලෝ they undergo a proliferation or multiple cell division and they convert into they produce a clone of identical cells. From that some cells they become effector cells. These effector cells are short-lived, right? They give rapid response against the antigen. Next one is elimination of invaders. The effector forms of T lymphocyte is called cytotoxic T cell or cytotoxic T cell and helper T cells. T lymphocyte effector forms දෙකයි, cytotoxic and helper. Cytotoxic T cells use toxic proteins to kill the cells infected with the pathogen. Signals from the helper T cells activate cytotoxic T cells to kill the infected cell. Effector forms දෙකක් තියෙනවා, cytotoxic T cell and helper T cells. හරිද? helper T cell එක මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? එයා signals යවනවා මේ activated මේ cytotoxic T cells ලට මෙන්න ඉන්නවා එක්කනේ මෙයාව කන්න, මෙයාව විනාශ කරන්න එහෙම කියලා. හරිද? මේ cytotoxic T cells ලා තමයි toxic proteins දාලා අර infected ඒවා destroy කරන්නේ. හරිද? නැතුව helper නෙමෙයි. Then, signals from these helper T cells can also activate B lymphocytes to initiate antibody production. Effector effector forms of B lymphocytes are plasma cells. Right? එයාගේ තියෙන්නේ මොනවද? Plasma cells. Then, yeah. Plasma cells, a single activated B lymphocyte can form thousands of identical plasma cells. Plasma cells, they begin producing and secreting a soluble form of the B lymphocyte antigen receptor antibodies. Plasma cells මොකද කරන්නේ? Antibodies secrete කරනවා. Right? Secrete into the body fluids, blood and lymph. So these circulating antibodies, they can neutralize and inactivate the specific toxins and pathogens in the body fluids. The last step is providing immunological memory. Following differentiated into effector T cells, right? Cytotoxic T cells, helper T cells, other T lymphocytes in the clone. අර clone එකේ ඉතිරි වෙලා තිබ්බ අනිත් කට්ටිය මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒගොල්ලෝ memory T cells වලට යනවා. හරිද? දැන් ඔය effector cells ලා මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒගොල්ලෝ short live. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ වැඩේ කරා නිකන් ඊට පස්සේ මැරිලා යනවා. ඒ clone එකේ ඉතිරි වෙච්ච අනිත් කට්ටිය මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒගොල්ලෝ මතක සෛල. right? නිකන් අර මතක නිකන් memory එකක්. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉන්නවා ගොඩක් අය. right? long live. memory T cells ලා වෙනවා. හරිද? They can give rise to effector T cells. If the same antigen is encountered later in life, similarly, the remaining B lymphocyte in the clones are memory B cells, which are, later in the life. Okay. Similarly, the remaining B lymphocyte in the clones are memory B cells, which are long-lived that can give rise to plasma cells if the same antigen is encountered later in the life. These memory T cells and memory B cells can cause stronger and more rapid response at subsequent encounter of the same antigen to the body. This immunological memory is called secondary immune responses. In an effector cells, it gives primary immune response, and these memory cells, right, they give secondary immune response, right? These memory cells, they are long-lived, and they can give rise to effector cells. දැන් අපි කොරෝනා වලට කොරෝනා හැදෙන්නේ නැතුව ගිහින් වැක්සින් එක ගත්තේ අය අපිට ස්කෝල වලින් ගහුවේ ආයි ලෙඩේ හැදුනොත් ඔන්න දැන් අපේ ඇඟ ඇතුලේ හැදෙනවා. right? ලෙඩේ දැන් නිකන් එච්චර strong එකට නෙමෙයි. හරිද? චුට්ටක් අපේ ඇඟ නිකන් පොඩ්ඩක් අපේ immune system එකේ මෙහෙම pathogen කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. එයාට විරුද්ධව අපේ ඇඟ ඇතුලේ මොකක් හරි response defense mechanism යම් මොන හරි හැදෙනවා. හරිද? එයාට විරුද්ධව T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes හැදෙනවා. හැදිලා effector cells හදලා ඊට පස්සේ memory cells තියෙනවානේ. හරි. මෙන්න මේ corona virus එයාට තමයි මේ එයාව destroy කරන්න තමයි අපේ ඇඟ ඇතුලේ මේවා හැදුනේ. ඒ ටික මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒ ටික ඔන්න ඇඟ ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා. බැරි වෙලා හරි අපිට ආයි ඒ ලෙඩේ හැදුනොත් ඒ pathogen corona virus pathogen අපේ ඇඟට ආවොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? අර store කරගෙන හිටපු memory කට්ටිය දන්නවා මෙන්න මෙයා තමයි කලිනුත් ආවේ. දෙන්නම් වැඩේ කියලා හරියව කරනවා. හරිද? එතකොට already ආව හදලානේ තියෙන්නේ. නිකන් අර fridge එකේ දාලා තියෙන කෑමක් වගේ already හදලා තියෙන්නේ. ආයි කිසිම අර ආයි කරදර වෙන්න නිකන් වෙලාව නාස්ති කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. හරිද? නිකන් fridge එකෙන් ගත්ත කෑව වගේ අර ආපු ගම destroy කරන්න පුළුවන්. right? So it provide rapid response. okay? තේරුණාද? That part is also over. Now we have to learn about active immunity and passive immunity. හරිද? right. Active immunity means it is a long-lasting immunity. It is mediated by the action of B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes in the body, right? And result in B and T memory cells, which are specific for the pathogen. So this active immunity, it can be developed in the body as a result of natural infection or by artificial immunization. හරිද? බලමු ඒක එතකොට The active immunity that developed as a result of natural infection is called naturally acquired active immunity. Now, in the exam, if they ask what are the two defense mechanism or what are the two types of immune responses of acquired immunity, don't write active and passive. The two types of immune responses of acquired immunity are cell-mediated immune response and humoral immune response, right? In the paper class, I think in fourth paper or third paper, as I remember, I gave a essay question to write about this acquired immunity, right? Types of acquired immunity. So most of the students have written about the passive and active immunity, not about the cell-mediated immune response and humoral immune response. So I didn't give marks, okay? So, naturally acquired active immunity. It's long-lasting immunity that develops in the body against various infectious diseases in response to natural infection of pathogen is called naturally acquired active immunity. We'll take sentence by sentence. Long-lasting immunity. හරිද? long-lasting නම් මොකද්ද වෙන්න ඕනේ? memory cells තියෙනවා. right? Memory cells, T memory cells and B memory cells. Then in response to a disease causing agent entering the body, naturally for the first time, මුල් වතාවට එන්නේ. හරිද? It's the first time of entering that pathogen into our body. For example, they have given virus of chickenpox. Some T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes in the body become activated, right? Against this virus virus of chickenpox, it is the antigen. So this T lymphocyte and B lymphocytes in the body, they activate and they produce effector cells. What are the effector cells of T lymphocytes? Cytotoxic T cells. And B lymphocytes produce antibodies to destroy this pathogen. After that, okay, you know, after that, after the proliferation of these T cells and B cells, a part of cells in that clone differentiate into effector cells. Another part differentiate into the remaining cells, they differentiate into memory cells. So the memory B cells and T cells produced in this process are long-lived that will provide a stronger and rapid immune response to destroy the particular antigen if the same antigen is encountered later in the life. In this way, the body can resist to subsequent infection of the same antigen. හරිද? මොකක්ද ඒ උනේ? ඉස්සෙල්ලත් මම කියලා දුන්නා. ඔන්න දැන් අලුතින් අපිට ලෙඩේ හැදෙනවා. antigen ඇඟ ඇතුළට එනවා. ආපු ගමන් T lymphocyte, B lymphocyte, they recognize this antigen. And what happened? They undergo proliferation and they produce clone of identical daughter cell. Part of that daughter cells, they differentiate into effector cells, cytotoxic T cells and antibodies. And the remaining cells in the clone, they produce memory B cells and T cells. Those memory B cells and T cells, they are long-lived, right? So they store in the body. Once this same antigen enter into our body later in our life, those memory cells, they can recognize that antigen, the same guy, okay? So they can provide a very strong and rapid immune response to destroy that particular antigen. හරිද? දැන් නිකන් අර උදේ වැටුණු වලේ වැටුණු වලේ උදේ වැටෙන්නේ නැහැ වගේ තමයි. Well prepared. Next one, artificially acquired active immunity. මෙතන තමයි අර immunization කතාව තියෙන්නේ. අර කොරෝනා එකට අපි injection ගහගත්තු කතාව මේකට තමයි අයිති වෙන්නේ. Long-lasting immunity induced artificially in the body against various infectious diseases through vaccination of attenuated pathogen is called artificially acquired active immunity. Immunization can be carried out with preparation of antigen from various sources such as killed or weakened pathogens. Right, under microbiology, you learn about 3 types of vaccines. right? Some they contain the live pathogen, which is deliberately weakened for its pathogenicity. And some other vaccines, they contain killed pathogen. And some vaccines, right, subunit vaccines, they contain antigenic parts like fragments or like toxins like that. These vaccines act as antigens and stimulate cell-mediated and antibody-mediated immune response, leading to the production of long-lived memory B and T cells to destroy the antigen. දැන් අපි ගිහින් වැක්සින් එක ගහ ගන්නවා. අපි මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? අපේ ඇඟ රවට්ටනවා. ඇඟ දන්නේ නැහැ මේ බොරුවට මේ මාව රවට්ටන්න කරන්නේ කියලා. ඇඟ හිතන්නේ ඇත්තට ලෙඩේ හැදුනා කියලා. එයා මොකද කරන්නේ? අර පැතජන්ට විරුද්ධව එයා හදනවා මේ මොනවද T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, they act against that antigen, right? So the effector cells, they produce effector cells as well as memory T cells and B cells, right? If that antigen, if that pathogen enter into our body, ඇත්තටම enter වුණා. හරිද? ඊළඟ වතාවේ අපිට ඇත්තටම දැන් අපි මේ බොරුවටනේ ලෙඩ හදාගත්තේ. ඇත්තටම if the same pathogen encountered naturally later in the life, we have that long-lived memory cells, right? We have that already prepared memory cells in our body. So those memory cells, they can provide stronger and very and rapid immune response to destroy the particular pathogen, right? In general, the antigen used in the vaccines are pre-treated to be immunogenic but not pathogenic. For example, BCG vaccine, which is used against tuberculosis disease in man, has been prepared from a strain of attenuated live tuberculosis bacteria. Polio vaccine consists of live attenuated poliovirus strain. දැන් ඔය polio ඒ වගේම අර කොරෝනා වගේම මේ නිකන් ලොකු ලෙඩනේ කාලේ හරිද? ඒකනේ ඔය injections ඔක්කොම අපිට කලින් දෙන්නේ දැන්. These antigens in the polio vaccine produce antibodies in the blood against poliovirus. And in the event of infection, this protects the individual by preventing the spread of poliovirus to the nervous system. Okay, can you understand the difference between the natural and artificially acquired active immunity? Any doubts? Right, next one. Passive immunity. Passive immunity means it is a short-term immunity. Then it's a long term. It can memory cells involved there. But here this is a short term. Short term number effector cells with involved in. Passive immunity is the short term immunity developed within the body due to transfer of antibodies produced by another individual. තව කෙනෙක්ගේ ඇඟේ හැදිච්ච antibodies තමයි අපේ ඇඟට දෙන්නේ. Passive immunity provides immediate protection, but the body does not develop memory, as passive immunity does not involve recipient T and B cells. දැන් අර antibodies කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? තව කෙනෙක්ගේ plasma cells. එතකොට අපේ ඇඟේ තියෙන කට්ටියව පාවිච්චි කරනද නෑනේ. ඉතින් plasma අපේ ඇඟේ කට්ටියව පාවිච්චි වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලන්ට they don't have to make those B lymphocytes, the B lymphocytes in our body, they don't have to undergo proliferation and they don't have to differentiate into plasma cells, right? Because we are giving the plasma cells, someone else plasma cells, we enter that plasma cells into our body, right? Passive immunity persists only until the transferred antibodies last. ඒ කියන්නේ අර කෙනෙක්ගෙන් ගත්තු ටික ඒව තියෙනකම් ඔන්න අපේ ඇඟේ අර immunity එක තියෙනවා. හරිද? ඒක සති කිහිපයක් මාස කිහිපයක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Therefore, the recipient is at risk of being infected by the same pathogen later unless they acquire active immunity or vaccination. Passive immunity can be developed as a result of transferring antibodies to the recipient naturally or artificially. අර දැන් vaccines උනත් අපිට තියෙන්නේ doses කිහිපයක් ගන්න තියෙන්නේ. අන්න ඒ වගේව එහෙමයි. සමහර ඒවා life long, ඒ කියන්නේ ආයි ගන්න ඕනේ, right? One dose is enough, right? So it provides long term immunity. අපි අර doses කිහිපයක් ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒවා තමයි ඔය short term immunity, passive immunity කියන එකට යටතට එන්නේ. බලමු. This is also two types as naturally and artificially acquired passive immunity. Naturally, short-term antibody-mediated immunity for some infection diseases can be developed within the body of the fetus or nursing infant due to the natural transfer of antibodies produced by the mother. දැන් අර කොලෙස්ටරෝල් කියන්නේ හරිද? කිරි වලට කලින් තියෙන එනේවා. ඒකේ මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? ඒක ඔය ඇන්ටිබොඩීස් ඒවනේ තියෙන්නේ. අලුත් ඉපදිච්ච ළමෙක්ට යාගේ ඉමුන් සිස්ටම් එක ඒ තරම් ස්ට්‍රෝං පවර්ෆුල් නැහැ. හරිද? ඒ හින්දා මොකද වෙන්නේ? අම්මා තමයි අම්මගේ අර කොලෙස්ටරෝල් වලින් මොනවද දෙන්නේ? ඇන්ටිබොඩීස් දෙනවා. right? This through the cholesterol and breast milk, right? Mother provide antibodies. ඒ කියන්නේ අම්මගේ ඇඟේ හැදෙන ඇන්ටිබොඩීස් තමයි ළමයාට දෙන්නේ. ඒ ඇන්ටිබොඩීස් වලින් මොකද වෙන්නේ? අර පොඩි කාලයක් ඒ කියන්නේ එයාගේ ඉමුන් සිස්ටම් එක ටිකක් ස්ට්‍රෝං වෙනකම්. හරිද? ඒවෙන් අර temporary protection එකක් දෙනවා. හරිද? So this is a natural one. right? කොහොමද ඉතින් අර අලුත් ඉපදෙන ළමයින්ට කිරි දෙනවනේ cholesterol, right? It's a natural thing. නැතුව ගිහින් මේ කිරි අම්මට වෙන කොහෙන් හරි artificially දෙන්නේ නැහනේ. It's naturally produced. That's why it is categorized as naturally acquired passive immunity. So simple, right? Short-term antibody-mediated immunity for some infection diseases can be developed within the body of the fetus or nursing infant due to the natural transfer of antibodies produced by the mother. The immunity occurs due to the transfer of antibodies to the fetus blood from mother's blood across the placenta. Antibodies also can pass from mother to the nursing infant through the cholesterol and the milk during breastfeeding. That's why breastfeeding is very important. The baby develops the resistance against some infectious diseases for a short time. In this way, the infant may be protected from these diseases until its own immune system is fully functional. This is known as naturally acquired passive immunity. Okay? You should remember those the examples. Are the examples පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනි. Right. Next one. Last one, artificially acquired passive immunity. Artificially acquired passive immunity is a temporarily induced defensive protection achieved by transfer of antibodies artificially to the blood of the recipient from another source. Ready-made antibodies can be administered as blood plasma or serum. දැන් අර මේ liver එකේ හැම ප්‍රශ්න වුණාම මොනවද කරන්නේ? plasma හැම වෙනම දෙනවනේ blood plasma. liver එකේ problems තියෙන patient ලට අර blood cells නෙමෙයි plasma දෙනවා. blood plasma වල මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? antibodies තියෙනවා. right? එතකොට ඒක මොකද්ද? It's a kind of artificial acquired passive immunity. liver එකනේ අපේ ඔක්කොම detoxification මේ හැම එකක්ම කරන්නේ. liver එක damage වෙච්ච අයට blood plasma දෙනවා. Or as injections of pooled human immunoglobulins from immunized donors or as monoclonal antibodies. Passive transfer of antibodies is used to prevent some infectious diseases when infectious agents are suspected to have accidentally entered the body. It is also used in the treatment of several types of acute infections. Ready-made human anti-tetanus immunoglobulin for acute condition of tetanus. Passive immunization is also used to treat poisoning from venomous snake bite. Antivenin serum prepared from horses that have been immunized against snake venom. Immunity derived from artificially acquired passive immunity lasts for few weeks to 4 months. Right? Now at home, you can make a table. මේ ටික දාලා table එකක් හදලා පාඩම් කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? You can write down the definition and what's happening here. Right? Is it short term or long term? Right? And you can include a separate column for examples. Okay? Next one, allergies. Some persons are overly reactive to substance. දැන් ගත්තාම සමහරු අපිට දැන් කට්ටියකට ඕන කෑමක් ඕන බෙහෙතක් it's okay. ඕන එකට ඔට්ටුයි. But සමහර අය අනේ මට අන්නාසි එපා, මට සීෆුඩ් එපා, අරවා එපා, මේව එපා, මේක ඇලර්ජි, right? අහලා තියෙනවා. Some persons are overly reactive to substances that are tolerated by most other people. Antigens that induce hypersensitive reaction in some persons are called allergens, right? Hypersensitive reactions. Exaggerated responses of the body to certain antigens are called allergies. Are the exaggerated responses? These words are very important, right? Exaggerated responses. Common allergens include pollens, dust, some seafood like cuttlefish, prawns, right? Then antibiotics. අර බෙහෙත් ගන්න ගියාම දොස්තර කන්නේ කෙනේ මොන හරි ඇලර්ජි බෙහෙත් වලට මොන හරි ඇලර්ජි ඒවා තියෙනවද කියලා. Then venom from honey bees, wasps, right? සමහරවිට කඩියෙක් කාලා උනත් මැරෙන්න පුළුවන්. Right? කඩියෙක් කාලා උනත් මැරෙන්න පුළුවන් because of these allergies. Whenever an allergic reaction takes place, the tissue injury occurs. The most allergens stimulate production of plasma cells which secrete antibodies specific for the antigen. මොකද කරන්නේ? Allergen, it stimulates the production of plasma cells. That means B cells. When the same allergen enter the body later, it becomes attached to the antibody specific to the allergen, which induce the mast cells to release histamine and other inflammatory chemicals. හරිද? එතකොට මේක ආවහම මොකද වෙන්නේ? antibodies ගිහිල්ලා attach වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ they induce mast cells to release histamine. හරිද? histamine and other inflammatory chemicals. අර inflammatory response එකක් කලින් ඉගෙන ගත්තේ. Acting on a variety of cell types, these signals bring about typically allergy symptoms. Sneezing, runny nose, teary eyes, smooth muscle contractions in the airways of the lungs that can result in breathing difficulties. An acute allergic condition sometimes lead to death of a person due to breathing difficulties and low blood pressure within few seconds of exposure to an allergen. So it can be critical. Either, what are the symptoms? Sneezing, runny nose, teary eyes, then smooth muscle contraction in the airways. අර උස්ප ගන්න බැරි වෙනවා. හරිද? Then autoimmune diseases and immunodeficiency diseases. මම ස්පීඩ් වැඩි දෙනවා. Because I need to complete this within today. Okay, autoimmune diseases. In some persons, immune system become active against, right? Its own molecules. ඒ කියන්නේ තමන්ගේ මැංගේ තියෙන ඒවට විරුද්ධව වැඩ කරන්න. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ ගිහිල්ලා තමන්ගේම අයව කනවා. විනාශ කරනවා. නොවන තමයි අපි autoimmune diseases කියලා කියන්නේ. හරිද? එතකොට මේක ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන් because of the genetic factors, gender, right? Then due to the environmental triggers. So mostly females are affected by these diseases than males. Right? Right. Let's see. මේ තියෙන examples ටික. Multiple sclerosis, right? Fibromyalgia, මෙච්චර ඒවා පාඩම් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. But rheumatoid arthritis. ඒක අපිට දීලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ diabetes. Type 1 diabetes mellitus, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, right? Immunodeficiency disease is a disorder in which responses of the immune system to antigen are different. Sorry. Oh, I have missed this. Yeah, it's here. In some persons, the immune system becomes active against particular self molecules of the body and begins to attack the person's own tissue, leading to an autoimmune disease. And the මේවාගේ short note එකක් එන්න පුළුවන්. Possible causes for autoimmune diseases are genetic factors, gender, and unknown environmental triggers. Many autoimmune diseases affect females than males. Variety of mechanisms produce different autoimmune diseases. Some involve the production of autoantibodies that can affect normal functioning of certain body molecules. Antibodies කියන්නේ මොනවද? Autoantibodies හදනවා. හරිද? Antibodies, they can neutralize, so they can mark those cells, right, for destruction, right? Some involve activation of cytotoxic T cells that destroy certain body cells. Examples for autoimmune disease include type 1 diabetes mellitus. Then insulin හදන cells ඒවා destroy කරලා දානවා. කරාම මොකද වෙන්නේ? සීනි වැඩි වුණාම insulin secrete කරන්න මේ cells නැහැ. Right? Alpha beta cells නැහැ. Multiple sclerosis and rheumatoid arthritis. In type 1, T cells attack the insulin-producing pancreatic beta cells. In multiple sclerosis, T cells attack myelin sheath around the neurons. In rheumatoid arthritis, painful inflammations of the cartilage and bones occur as the immune system mistakenly sends antibodies to the lining of the joints where they attack the tissues surrounding the joints. Right? ලෙඩ තුනක් දීලා තියෙනවා. Type 1 diabetes mellitus, what happened? The immune system of the body attack, T cells attack pancreatic beta cells. Beta cells නැහැ කියන්නේ insulin හදන්න විදිහක් නැහැ. සීනි වැඩි වුණාම ඒක ඉතින් අඩු කරන්න විදිහක් නැහැ insulin නැත්තම් නේද? Then multiple sclerosis වලදී මොකද කරන්නේ? They attack the myelin sheath around the neurons. And in rheumatoid arthritis, right, they secrete antibodies to the lining of the joints. So that is about autoimmune disease. Then last one, immunodeficiency diseases. Immunodeficiency කියන්නේ ඒ ලෙඩට විරුද්ධව අපේ ඇඟේ response එකක් නැහැ. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ එයාට විරුද්ධව ඒ antigen වලට immune ඒ antigen ට විරුද්ධව කරන්න මේ කිසිම මේකක් කියන්නේ response එක අපේ ඇඟෙන් හදන්නේ. එතකොට ඒ ලෙඩේ antigen ඇවිල්ලා ලෙඩේ හදලා යන්න පුළුවන්. Right? And immunodeficiency can lead to frequent and recurrent infection and increased susceptibility to certain cancers. And inborn immunodeficiency results from genetic or developmental defects in the production of immune system cells or specific proteins such as antibodies or proteins of the complement system. Acquired immunodeficiency can be developed later in life due to exposure to chemicals or biological agents. Drugs used to fight autoimmune diseases. හරිද? දැන් autoimmune එකේ කරන්නේ නිකන් ඇඟේ ටික ඇඟේ කට්ටියම කනවා. එතකොට ගිහින් දොස්තරගෙන් බෙහෙත් අරන් එනවා. ඒක ඒ කියන්නේ immune system එක ටිකක් ඒක මේ නිකන් ඒකේ මේ power එක අඩු කරන්න. හරිද? ඔය බෙහෙත් දීලා ඊට පස්සේ මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඇත්තටම ඒ කියන්නේ ලෙඩක් හැදුනහම ඒකට මේ ඇක්ට් කරන්න තරම් මොකද්ද අපේ immune system එක strong වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හරිද? එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒකේ තියෙන ඒ responses ඔක්කොම absent. අර බෙහෙත් ඕනවට වඩා අරගත්තු හින්දා. Right? Drugs used to fight autoimmune diseases or prevent transplant rejection suppress the immune system, leading to an immunodeficiency state. The human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, the pathogen that causes acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS, escapes and attacks the immune system of man. හරිද? AIDS කියන එක then it's a sexually transmitted disease, but it attacked what? It attacked the immune system of man. The HIV causes progressive destruction of immune responses in the person, leading to frequent infection and increased susceptibility to certain cancers which can cause death, right? It attacked the immune system of the man. So what happened? Cancer එකක් හැදුනා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒවා destroy කරන්න ඒවා control කරන්න immune system එක අපේ strong නැහැ. ඒකට අදාළ responses නැහැ. හරිද? ඒ හින්දා මොකද වෙන්නේ? ලෙඩ හැදෙලදී මැරිලා යනවා. ඒඩ්ස්ල තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ ඒකයි. You have to remember, even though AIDS is a sexually transmitted disease, it affects to which system? It affects the immune system, right? Not the reproductive system. It affects the immune system of the man, right? There was an MCQ, I can't remember. I discussed that in the paper class or microbiology class. I can't remember. I explained the same point. Right, so that's it. We have complete the immune system and next day I'll start excretory system. Any doubts? Any doubts? දැන් මම අන්තිම ටික මම වේගෙන් කියෙව්වා. පොතේ තියෙන ටිකම explain කරා. Right? So what you have to do is, please go through, like take 1 hour and go through this lesson one more time. මම මේ ඔක්කොම එකින් එක කියවලා තේරුම් කරානේ. හින්දා වේගෙන් පාඩම කියවගෙන ගිහිල්ලා අර කියපු ටික ආපහු පාරක් මතක් කරගන්න. And if you have any questions in නැත්නම් class එකක දිනු questions මොන හරි තියෙනවා නම් මමත් දුන්නු ටික තියෙනවානේ. You can practice those questions one more time. Right? Okay, so that's it. We'll do tomorrow, so there will be a class. Tomorrow I'm going to do excretory system. Right.